Hi, I'm Zachary Cochran, and I'd like to give you a behind the scenes look at me because while coaching is about you, it's important for you to know if we're a good fit. And I want to give you that confidence by telling you a bit about my story, my aim for this coaching group, as well as my plans for the future and where I'm going in my career to make sure that we're aligned and we're a good fit. I got into coaching almost accidentally. I found that I was helping my friends find jobs while I was jumping from job to job myself in the first 7 years of my career. And I enjoyed that part of my work of helping friends find jobs. And I was good at it enough to help them actually land the job. And so I thought, I don't really love each of the parts of my career to date, right? I did some public relations, I did some marketing and internal communications. I managed a museum at one point. And there were elements of each of those jobs that I liked, but it didn't feel like I was reaching my full potential. And so I said, what if I just followed this coaching thread and instead of doing that on the side, just did that full time? So I opened my coaching business, Cochran Coaching LLC, September 2017, and my goal was to support the career paths of young professionals. Now, obviously time machines don't exist, and I couldn't go back in time to help myself. But I thought, what if I could take some of the lessons that I'd learned and be able to impart those to folks who are younger than me to help them get further faster? I felt I was missing a lot of the kind of support and mentorship and investment in me that I needed to get farther faster. I knew I had potential. I knew I cared about leadership. I knew I wanted to be a leader, but I was just kind of doing job to job and didn't really have a whole lot of attention on myself. And certainly not a lot of investment from others in myself. So something that I would have really loved would have been like a leadership development program that was an ongoing program that helped me to kind of really dig into like what were my strengths, what made me able to contribute at my highest level, as well as what even was I trying to show up to do for work. What did I want to accomplish in the world through the time that I spent working? Yes, obviously make some money, but it's more than that, right? We want work to be fulfilling or meaningful to us. We want it to contribute to the world. And so I was looking for that, and I kind of clustered together different mentors and was able to talk with a number of people to help me along that journey, but there was no sort of focused community or focused single effort to help me through that. And insofar as I applied to those kinds of things, for example, my second job, they put together a leadership program. And that leadership program was really geared more toward managers, which though I had the manager title, I wasn't managing any people at that point. And so I didn't make the cut. And out of the 100 or so people in the company that applied to that program, only 8, maybe 12 people actually made it in. And I think a lot of us were disappointed as young professionals who were eager to grow, who wanted someone to invest in us. And so that sparked for me an idea that I want to now support others, not just because you got into this super exclusive leadership program that no one else can get into, but I want to make coaching and the kind of value of a leadership development program accessible to you regardless of your budget, regardless of if you have an organization that's investing in you, right? And so if you have the ability to invest in yourself, by cutting back a little bit in some personal expenses to be able to invest in your professional development. That's what I'm hoping to provide for you through this experience with the group coaching that I'm building. I went from the first 7 years of my career wearing the employee hat to now suddenly having this crazy experience of being my own boss. And starting my own company was an adventure that I was both excited or thrilled about, but I was also terrified to leave my job and leave essentially the life that I built and to go in for myself with the hopes that I would be able to invest in myself as a business owner. And so I made that decision in my late 20s to start this business. And as you can imagine, no one really wants to hire a life coach with no life experience. So it took me some time to figure out how to find clients, how to really narrow into my niche of where I'm going to provide the most value to my coaching clients. I really didn't start as a life coach. My goal was to start as a career coach. But then I realized, okay, yes, I'm helping you find the job, you get the job, and then we're done working together. there's more that I could have done to support you throughout your career. And so I've been shifting away from career coaching exclusively toward more of an ongoing, lifelong learning kind of relationship where you're investing in yourself as a leader. Now, who's a leader? Are you a leader? And my view is that everyone is a leader because everyone needs to lead themselves. And if you can lead yourself well, you can also model that and manage others and learn management if you end up having direct reports. So as I'm building these groups, I'm thinking about them in terms of, are you a young professional who's just getting started in your career, or maybe you've been in it for some time and you're still an individual contributor, right? You're still not having anyone report to you. And then, if you're a manager, those are a unique kind of different set of problems as you need to now lead and manage a team. That is how you get work done. It's through your team. And so figuring out how to manage your team effectively is its own challenge. And so I've created a separate group for that. And then I'm even thinking about, in terms of my roadmap for 2026, what about creating a group that's specifically for any young professional who is in career transition or wants to focus on a job hunt or trying to figure out what's next and what's right for them. And again, that doesn't exist yet, and there will be elements of that in the other groups. But I'm almost envisioning that you can float between groups. So you go from, hey, I'm an individual contributor. Wait, I need to figure out how to transition out of this role in my career. So I jump over to more of like the career transition group. And then I'm going to get promoted, and now I'm managing people. So now I get upgraded, and I'm in the managers group, right? And so there's kind of an ecosystem that I'm building. And my hope is not only will you be able to network within each of those groups, the ones that you're in, but I'm building a larger kind of community here that allows you to network with other young professionals who are like-minded, who care about investing in themselves. And so in terms of roadmap, I'm starting with an initial young professionals group, then building on that and the success of that with a managers group, as well as expanding to more of a community. And that community will start very basic, looking at WhatsApp groups as an easy way to get started, and then eventually possibly an LMS to create more of a holistic experience as that becomes appropriate. Over the last 7 years of my career, I've been moving away from career coaching into more of that leadership development work, and even working with business owners and folks who are in startup mode to help them figure out the challenges in their career. Because as a creative problem solver, I really enjoy helping others to think through how they can be more strategic with their career and how to invest more deeply in themselves. And I'm able to do that not by giving advice, but here's what coaching is. It's really through asking the questions. And the belief is that the answer's already in the room. You already know what is best for you, or you can figure that out. And my goal as a coach is to help bring that out of you with the questions that I ask or the exercises that I lead you through. And my hope is that you're going to be able to come to the answers that are right for you, not just what I think or someone else thinks would be the right way for you to live your life or to run your career. And that's the value in coaching. One of the main parts is that it's helping you to figure out what's right for you, as opposed to you just hearing the advice and living someone else's life, right? Or that they're living through you because they gave you the right advice. The hat that I'm wearing as coach is a little different than mentor as well. Now, I have been in my career for 14, 15 years. In some sense, I have been there, done that, right? And so there's an element to which I'm able to say, hey, this worked for me, this didn't work for me, right? But the mentor hat is something that I'm trying to keep mostly off of my head and keep that coach hat on. So I might know that you are considering maybe joining a young professionals board, and you're thinking that that could be a great way to network and to build your personal brand. And I'm not necessarily going to push you into that because, by the way, I did that, and it did help me considerably in growing my career and my personal brand. But I would ask you, what is it what do you think the impact would be for you? And who else could you talk with about that would help you to gain clarity on if this is the right move for you, or maybe this is the right move, but not at the right time, right? And so again, coaching is supporting you in your pathway, and that's applicable whether you're just getting started in your career as a young professional who's a young adult, or if you're maybe a little bit more like closer to mid-career like me, but you have been maybe not getting that regular investment by others in you, and so you're just going to take it on and do it yourself. and you're going to take that seriously and say, hey, I am going to invest in myself, not just for a 6-month program and then I'm done and I'll take a break. No, I believe that I need to be a lifelong learner, that I am a lifelong learner, and that for me to be successful in the career that I'm trying to build and the life that I'm trying to build, I'm going to continue investing in myself. And so, as I've mentioned in another video, you think about this in terms of graduation when either you decide you're done with the group or you say, hey, I've actually graduated from the group because as an individual contributor, I am now a manager. And so if you are a manager and you've joined the managers group, right, you would graduate once you're starting to manage managers. And that sort of director level, VP, et cetera, key executive or executive would be, you'd be in a better context for another kind of group, something like more of a peer advisory group, or something that I'm not currently running. And I would refer you to one of those groups that are in my network that I think would be a really good fit for you if you fit that character, that level versus the manager or individual contributor levels. I mentioned I wanted to give you a behind the scenes look. And part of what that includes is me not just telling you what I've done in the past, but I want to let you in on some of what I'm planning on doing and thinking about for the future. One of the things that I'm really excited about is this pivot away from just the one-on-one coaching that I've been doing for 7-8 years to now doing group coaching. And I've done group coaching in the sense that I've run peer advisory groups, I've run trainings, but that's really more facilitation or training. And so this idea of a group coaching context is really me getting to take the power of one-on-one coaching, but then expand that to a group. And I see that as being valuable not only for you, but also for me and my career going forward. So the value to me is that I can take not one client per hour, but 10 or 20 clients per hour and put them together. And that drives more revenue for me and my business, and that moves me toward my vision and goal of seeing 500 young professionals supported every month with professional development by the year 2030. And if I can do that through my company, and my company can be the vehicle to get to a larger impact that's positive on young professionals, I'm excited about that. And I'll also benefit from that as I grow the size of my client base. The value to you is, yes, a one-on-one is very personal. It gives you an opportunity to have a dialogue with the coach, and you miss out on a lot of the other voices that could be in that conversation. You're having a conversation all the time. Primarily, you have that conversation with yourself, right? Sometimes you include other people in that. That's an insight from Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. And the conversation that you're having could include a community of peers around you who are going to weigh in with their perspectives. And oftentimes, the collective perspectives of all of us work better than the single perspectives of any of us. And so even if you have a great relationship with a coach already, or maybe you were thinking about maybe we would work together in a one-on-one basis, I want to challenge you to consider what it would look like to bring in those other voices and to try out a group coaching context. I think you'll see that there's a lot of value in having a connection and conversation with others who are in a similar life stage and in a similar stage in their career. I mentioned earlier, I can't jump in a time machine for myself. And yet, I also believe that every young professional deserves to be invested in. And my hope is that when we invest in ourselves, when we engage with others who are investing in us, like in this case, through a coaching relationship, that you're going to get to the place where you flourish. You're going to feel like you're thriving, you're reaching your potential, you're actually growing at the pace that you'd like to grow. And anyone who is a learner who wants to grow faster would be a really good potential fit for this group. If you think you know most of the answers, coaching is really not a good fit for you, because coaching is designed to help you get clarity and draw out those answers from you. And so starting with the openness and the curiosity of, I don't know everything, I think that other people could possibly weigh in and help me, and also if I could just get to answer the right questions and process this out loud, I might get to where I want to be, right? That's a good sign that you could be a good fit for coaching and for a group coaching context. Now, why 500 people? Well, my vision is to see that the scope of my personal impact increases beyond just me and the very immediate community of my clients. I would love to see that more young professionals have access to coaching because it's such a powerful method of development. And I've experienced the benefit of coaching through the coaches that I've worked with. I've worked with business coaches, with sales coaches, with even business design coaches. And they have been super helpful in getting me to think through what it is that I need to do to take the next steps in my career. And so I know that this is going to be a valuable experience for you if it's the right fit. And I want to see not just you, but also dozens and even hundreds of other people get to experience the benefits of this. In a sense, I want to kind of democratize coaching. I don't want people to have to say, oh, well, I can't afford it, which is something I heard so often in the first 7 years of running my business. It was, I would say, the number one issue or cause that I would find people wouldn't work with me, right, if they needed some career coaching and some support, is it's just too expensive to spend $150, $200, $300, or $400 or more dollars per hour to get that support. To recap, I care about seeing you flourish as a young professional, and I believe you deserve to be invested in. And a lot of times, older generations haven't made that intentional choice to invest in you. And I think that I'm positioned as a young professional coach to support you in ways that maybe you haven't been invested in yet. And it does feel a little different getting coached by someone of your own generation. You see life in similar ways. And that's not to say that you should avoid conversations or coaching from older generations. There's a lot that wisdom and age can teach us. And I would encourage mentorship from older generations as well. And yet, I think that having the ongoing conversation of coaching, especially in a peer context, can lead to some really authentic, really actionable, really ideal outcomes for you and for your peers that would be a part of this conversation. And I'm really excited to bring this to you and to bring this to my network as well as my network's network. I am starting intentionally with the folks that I know well or that I know somewhat through my network, through maybe the young professionals groups that I've been networking in for years, and then expanding it out to other folks. I'm also thinking about this in terms of geographically, right? Even though we're on Zoom, and so this is going to be accessible virtually for people wherever they are, the time zone thing makes it ideal if you're on the East Coast to be able to join at noon when you have the most autonomy during your lunch break, right? During a Friday or a Tuesday, and you can set that time aside for yourself once a week. And so eventually, as I expand beyond, I might add some additional times that would be beneficial if you're on the West Coast and you're watching this and beyond. But I do think that starting, since the bulk of my network comes from Maryland and New York, given that I spent 11 years in New York City and most of the rest of my life here in Maryland, I think that starting on an East Coast time frame is going to be ideal and in service of my network to start. All right, so this might feel a little daunting or a little awkward because maybe you've never worked with a professional coach before, maybe you've never been in a group before, and it might feel a little bit like, what am I really going to expect? But like, what is this going to be like? And so some of what I'm doing right now is to give you a picture of that by recording a couple of what I'll call pilot sessions to give you a picture of what that experience could actually feel like without you having to come in and visit and commit the time. You can watch it on your own time. You can see what the folks who have consented to me video recording them through these group coaching segments. You can see what their experience was as they reflect on it at the end. You can also, imagine yourself there. What is it that you would have said if you had been in the room for those? And so I'm trying to immerse you in the experience as much as possible through just the video assets that I'm creating so that you can get a taste for this. If you're really thinking this could be a fit for you, I would encourage you, start a conversation with me. And also watch the videos that I have here in the playlist that would give you a picture of what this group is and what it could feel like if you were in it. If you haven't looked at my website, you probably don't know the pricing for this. And so I just want to assure you that the goal for me here is to help you advocate for yourself with your company if you're currently employed, and to help them to maybe pay for this service as a professional development expense that they're giving to you, to keep you happy, to retain you, to invest in you and develop you. it makes it easy for them because they can say, well, yeah, a few $1,000s, and here we go, and they're happy and they're growing, and this is a match. This works for us. So if you're watching this and you're actually a sponsor or an executive, and you're thinking, hey, I could use this for so and so, and maybe this person as well. Great, that's a good conversation you can start with me. And I'm hoping, especially for the managers group, that it's really going to be companies choosing to invest in their managers. Now, I've tried to make the price point as competitive and low cost as possible to make it accessible if you have to pay your own way. And as a young professional, I know that I couldn't pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a program to invest in myself. It was too cost prohibitive. And so I've tried to make the young professionals groups as low cost as possible. But right now, my pricing on that is $199 as of the recording of this video. It's $199 per month, right? And so you're looking at spending a couple $1,000s a year to invest in yourself, right? And if you can hopefully find places to cut, right? You cut out coffee, you cut out a subscription you're not really using, right? There are ways in which you can just be a little more intentional with your budget to rededicate those resources toward your professional development, with the goal that this is going to pay for itself many times over as you get maybe into a different job, or maybe in your same job you get promoted, you get a salary increase, right? Maybe you get a bonus for having done such a great job, and the executive recognition that you're getting there as well. Again, lots that could come from this group, and again, my hope is that you would be able to see that paid for by your company, but if not, you'd be able to afford it for yourself. And that price will probably raise in 2026, so just good to get good in here now on the ground floor. I am usually very flexible with my clients around pricing to work with their budgets, and so if you needed to stay at a legacy rate until you did get that raise, right, that would be something that we could talk about. If you are a manager, again, my hope is that your company's going to say, wow, $5,000 a year is not breaking the bank for us. We'll invest in you. In fact, we don't have a program to do this right now, so this is a bonus for us. And it's $400 or $399 a month that you would be paying for out of pocket if you had to pay for it yourself. And that is, again, hopefully accessible enough if you're at that stage where you're managing people in your career. And if you know that you want to get better, and if you do get better as a manager, right, this is going to make it so much easier for you at work to get recognition, to get those raises. That's going to be fantastic for you. And again, it'll pay for itself fairly quickly over the course of, my hope is, 6 to 12 months, assuming you are regularly attending these groups and you're really investing in getting a lot out of them. The environment we're in today is uncharted. It's unprecedented in some ways, and for a lot of us, we might have some concerns about the world that we're living in today. And there's not a lot that you can control out there, right? Those are circumstances that you just have to accept. But there are things that you can control, and that includes investing in yourself and choosing to take seriously your professional development. If you do that, you increase your lifetime earnings, you increase your income, you increase the connections that you have, and that means also your impact and ability to help others. So I invite you to consider what it looks like to invest in yourself today. Take control of what you can control, and part of that includes your own development. And I don't believe that you'll be disappointed. I know in all the ways that I've invested in myself, I've been very grateful down the road that I did that. As I've gotten older, I've realized that we are the leaders of the world. The next generation is becoming the ones who will take over, who will make the decisions about what happens in our community, what happens in our state, what happens in our country. And so if you want to take that role to lead yourself well now, that'll position you to lead your community, or even more broadly, right, to influence the world in such significant ways that you'll be grateful that you invested in yourself early. You'll know that maybe your aspirations aren't that broad or grandiose to be a world leader, but you might be able to lead in, say, the school that your kids are in, or you might be able to lead in a community that you care a lot about. And finding the ways to lead yourself now is going to help you when you get to that stage where you are just needing the leadership skills that you would not have had if you hadn't started this process now. So I invite you to start your leadership journey now, or to take the next step in your leadership journey if, like me, you had already been in that for some time. I believe you will not be disappointed if you start now to lead yourself well and to learn how to lead others.